Welcome back, Defenders. It's almost May 9th, and Putin is terrified that Ukraine is going to sabotage Russia's Victory Day parade. Putin has announced that all military actions in Ukraine will be suspended between midnight on May 8th and midnight on May 11th to cover the celebrations on May 9th. Putin is scared that Ukraine is going to interrupt his pretty propaganda parade. Okay, so to begin, for there to be a ceasefire, both sides have to agree. Both sides have to be talking to each other, and the Russians keep unilaterally declaring ceasefires whenever they want. Christmas, Easter, and now May 9th. And that's not how ceasefires work. This is pretty silly, and even if Ukraine agreed to it, Russia doesn't even respect their own ceasefires. I guarantee for these 3 days, nothing on the front lines is going to change. Putin just doesn't want Ukraine attacking the city of Moscow with drones. Here are thoughts from Mikhail Khodorkovsky. Putin put this guy in jail for 10 years. The ceasefire is not intended to save lives. Its goal is to shield the May celebrations, entice foreign guests to Moscow, and show the world a picture of a stable Russia. Putin has secured the visit of 38 heads of state for the Victory Day parade. He fully understands that Moscow's security is no longer guaranteed. Drones over the Kremlin have become the new normal. He needs a 72-hour pause, not 48 like last time, so that guests' planes can land, their cortege can arrive, the parade can go ahead, and TV cameras can record the whole thing. That's all. No mercy, just cold calculations. The main question that Ukraine must ask itself is, okay, what's in it for us? We're letting you take the holidays off. What will you give us in return? And the answer is nothing. This military parade is a valid military target when you're the country that invaded somebody else. These are uniformed military personnel marching down a street with military equipment. Ukraine has every right in the middle of a war to strike this military parade. But I don't think they will. They didn't do it last year, or the year before that, or the year before that. And especially this year, I don't think Ukraine is going to do anything because Xi Jinping of China is going to attend the Victory Day parade in Moscow. And China has formally asked Ukraine not to attack Moscow during the May 9th parade. Heads of state are going to be flying in and out, and nobody wants to die. Maybe then don't go to Moscow. So the Chinese are showing off on the streets of Moscow. Their soldiers are already there, practicing for the parade. Chinese soldiers are going to be participating in the parade, and they arrived weeks ago to practice, and this is the Chinese soldiers marching down a street in downtown Moscow. Dictators love their military parades. As someone who served in the military, it's a waste of time, it accomplishes nothing, and it's not going to actually help Russia win this war. Other top story from the last 2 days, the United States and Ukraine have signed a landmark mineral deal pushed by Trump to reimburse aid. Except the deal completely changed again, and it's now a truly equal agreement. Zelensky hails the mineral deal as a success. I'm not an expert, guys. I am looking to President Zelensky for leadership on this topic, and I could tell when Zelensky was delaying or avoiding or being political about not signing the deal. He was supposed to sign this deal a month ago, and he's been stalling. And this is what I told you guys. He was stalling for something to politically change in Trump's brain. And something must have changed. Today, our government team reported on the economic partnership with the United States. We have an agreement. It has been signed and will be submitted to the Rada for ratification, and we are interested in having no delays with it. Zelensky is endorsing it, and basically Ukraine's parliament now has to approve it. All our representatives did a good job. The agreement has changed significantly during the preparation process. It is now truly an equal partnership, one that creates opportunities for substantial investment in Ukraine, as well as significant modernization of Ukraine's industries and, equally important, its legal practices. The agreement foresees no debt. It stipulates the establishment of a reconstruction fund that will invest in Ukraine and generate returns in Ukraine. This means joint work with America based on fair terms, allowing both Ukraine and the United States, which supports us in our defense, to make money in this partnership. Here are the details. There are no reparations or repayments of previous U.S. assistance. All this talk about Ukraine having to pay back money provided under Joe Biden, we're done with that. That's gone. Contributions are measured at actual value from Ukraine, revenue from new projects from the United States, potentially also military aid. There are no requirements to sell everything to the United States or to channel all investment through the fund. The obligation is to give the fund fair market access to future projects. There was concern that Ukraine might be blocked from joining the European Union if they had a mineral deal in which the United States got first rights to all of Ukraine's natural resources. So that language is also gone. Full ownership and control will remain with Ukraine. Ukraine retains exclusive ownership over all their subsoil, territorial waters, and natural resources. Only Ukraine determines the conditions and locations for resource development. Equal partnership. The fund is created on a 50-50 basis. Neither party will have a majority vote, so that's a change. And this will reflect the equal partnership between the United States and Ukraine. National property is protected. Ukrainian state-owned enterprises remain state property. The agreement does not affect privatization processes. Basically, everything is different from the last time I saw this mineral deal. And this is, in theory, a good deal. What does the United States get out of it? Revenue being generated from Ukraine's natural resource industry goes into the fund in order to develop their industry. So any American companies that choose to partner with Ukraine, they'll benefit from the capital expenditures. When factories or mines or whatever are built, those are assets that American companies are gaining, so they are profiting. But this also benefits Ukraine. Their industries will develop. These are jobs. This is tax revenue. This is, I think the big point, a financial incentive for the United States to remain engaged with Ukraine, to want to protect their investments and resources inside the country. The theory being that American companies, if they invest in Ukraine and profit from Ukraine, they'll apply political pressure on Congress and the White House, like decades in the future, to stop the Russians from attacking Ukraine again. But we did it, guys. I think we need to take a victory lap because this was a huge accomplishment. 3 months ago, Donald Trump was saying that Ukraine owed the United States $500 billion. He then lowered it to $250. In the last version of the mineral deal, he then lowered it to $100, and Zelensky got him down to $0. Donald Trump is now saying Ukraine doesn't owe the United States anything. I was telling you that there is power in just saying no. And I think behind the scenes, in a diplomatic way, Ukraine was stalling, and they were just saying no to any bad provisions or bad deals. Ukraine was not acting desperate. And as Trump's political capital here in the United States was sinking, as Trump's approval rating was going down, especially with all these stupid tariffs and trade deals, Trump was desperate for a victory, so he accepted a good deal, a 50-50 deal. Zelensky held out for a month, and he got a fair deal. I think Zelensky's the one who needs to write the book, The Art of the Deal. Zelensky says the mineral deal signing, first result of talks with Trump at the Vatican. This was last weekend that Zelensky had the 15-minute conversation with Trump. And shocker, it went very well. And I know this is confusing for people. Trump says Putin might be misleading him on peace. So is Donald Trump a Russian agent? Was he recruited by the KGB in 1987? Is his asset name Krasnov? And I can't speak for what happened 40 years ago, but I don't even think Donald Trump mentally knows what he thinks anymore. Trump is an emotional and political animal, and he just likes responding to things. But there truly is no plan. There truly is no vision. He just reacts every day to various stimuli and inputs. He's very easily influenced, and I think that Trump is genuinely sad that Putin is not his friend and won't do him this favor of at least agreeing to a 30-day ceasefire. So I think this is a tactic that Trump is using to apply pressure on the Russians, maybe to get a better aluminum deal or get that Trump Tower in Moscow. Trump is oscillating back and forth between Russia and Ukraine, trying to apply pressure on the other to see what he can get. But he's an idiot, and he's incompetent, and there is no plan. Yes, we are getting good news from Trump about Ukraine today. But come on, guys, if you've been paying attention the last 3 months, you know this could change tomorrow. So I am going to play this clip of Trump on ABC, and this was an insane interview. But the interviewer did try to talk about Putin, talk about Ukraine, and this was Trump's reaction a week after meeting with Zelensky.
And because of me, I do believe that he's willing to stop the fighting. Don't forget,
think he wants peace? You think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
I think he does, yes. I think he does. I think
even with the raining missiles
I think he really, his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Do you trust him? Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You're coming all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do that.
I think Donald Trump was telling the truth. I think as his popularity falls and he's advanced in age, I think Trump is getting more paranoid. I think he is concerned about a lot of different people gunning for him, and I think he wants this issue of Ukraine and Russia to just go away. And he tried to force Ukraine to submit. Ukraine told him no. He might never apply pressure on Russia because he just doesn't even think Putin will ever back down. So this is what I've been advocating for. If Trump wants a political win, all he has to do is increase sanctions on Russia and then sell for profit weapons to Ukraine, and then just ignore it. Just say, I tried. These two people hate each other. There's nothing I can do. I'm going to continue supporting our NATO allies and sell weapons to Ukraine and leave sanctions placed on Russia until Russia gives up on this war. He then doesn't have to talk about, think about, or be involved in the situation. He can do less than Biden did, and nobody will care. People will be thanking him for not being involved directly every day. I saw this meme online, wanted to share it. Let's see who is really not interested in peace. And it was Vladimir Putin all along. Trump's slow, but maybe he's getting it. U.S. won't abandon peace talks. Ukraine agrees to de facto territorial concessions. Do you guys remember General Keith Kellogg? He was the white knight to save us all. And he's back. I kind of ignored this guy for a couple months because he truly was irrelevant. General Keith Kellogg does support Ukraine. he does oppose Russia. He is Trump's envoy to Ukraine, but when Trump was trying to be friendly with the Russians and hostile towards Ukraine, this guy had to just shut up. He just had to play possum, basically. And now that Trump has oscillated back towards being friendly towards Ukraine, he can now speak up. He can use his platform, he can use his voice, he's appearing on Fox News, and this is what General Keith Kellogg is now saying because he has Trump's permission to speak freely.
Dana, Russia's not winning this war. Russia has not made any major advances in the last year and a half. They haven't taken the city of Kyiv, the capital. They haven't pushed to the west of the Dnieper River, which is a major obstacle. They haven't taken Odessa. They've lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers, and they haven't really moved anything. It moves by meters, not by miles. And the Ukrainians are fighting on their own soil. They're fighting hard.
That's Keith Kellogg saying Russia is not winning this war and then explaining why. Keith Kellogg was not willing to say that 2 weeks ago prior to Trump and Zelensky meeting at the Vatican. So here is the good news for Ukraine, and it's kind of a lot. So, I mean, if you've been watching these videos, this is going to be shocking. Trump administration authorizes its first $50 million commercial arms export to Ukraine. The Trump administration has notified Congress of its decision to authorize weapons exports to Ukraine under the direct commercial sales mechanism, a deal worth $50 million. That's a partial unfreezing of U.S. military aid to Ukraine. The license covers weapons, technical data, and defense services. This is huge. Everything that has been delivered to Ukraine over the last 3 months was allocated under Biden. So stuff is now going to start showing up that Trump said was okay. Ukraine still had to pay for it, but Ukraine and NATO partners are okay with that. Take the money, Donald Trump. Take the profit, take the win. Just sell them the weapons. And this is where it gets really weird. Mothballed U.S. F-16 fighters dispatched to Ukraine. Images have appeared on social media of a preservative-wrapped Viper being loaded onto a AN-124 in Arizona. This was confirmed by the War Zone, but the United States just sent parts of an F-16 to Ukraine to support their F-16 fleets. But does that look like parts? That looks like the entire plane. Why would you send the fuselage? Poland did this 3 years ago with MiGs. They took the planes apart and then said that they were providing parts to Ukraine. And as soon as all the parts arrived, you reassembled it and then you got an entire plane. So we don't know what specifically is going on here, but for anyone saying that the United States has not provided Ukraine with F-16s, that looks like an F-16 being wrapped up and delivered. We don't know the details, guys, but it is very interesting. Additionally, Zelensky is saying Ukraine is now working with the United States on new Russian sanctions. As a consequence of the mineral deal being signed, this Vatican meeting, Donald Trump and members of his cabinet are now listening to Zelensky about what would you want us to do to increase sanctions on the Russians. And I'm sure Zelensky has some good ideas. I think there was also a turning point with the bombing of Sumy and then the bombing of Kyiv a week and a half ago. And this was a very important tweet from Senator Chuck Grassley. Who is Senator Chuck Grassley and why does he matter? He is the longest-serving ranking Republican member of the United States Senate. He has a very fancy title called the Senate Pro Tem, I think. Basically, I think he's fourth in line for the presidency after the vice president and the Speaker of the House. But he tweeted this out on April 25th. I've seen enough killing of innocent Ukrainian women and children. President Trump, please put the toughest of sanctions on Putin. You ought to see from clear evidence that he is playing America as a patsy. And there are other Republican senators using this opportunity to speak out. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham claims that 72 senators back bone-crushing sanctions on Russia. That's the number. There are 100 U.S. senators, and Senator Lindsey Graham has probably talked to all of them. and 72, this is a supermajority, are in favor of not just mild sanctions, bone-crushing sanctions. Now, Senator Lindsey Graham has to always speak in Trump's terms, so he says that the majority backs a 500% Russian energy tariff to pressure the Kremlin to a peace deal. And like with Keith Kellogg, these guys have to just wait for Trump to change his emotional state, and then they can speak freely. But this is absurd because a month ago, after the disastrous White House meeting, Senator Lindsey Graham was calling for Zelensky to resign. He said that America couldn't partner with Ukraine unless Zelensky stepped down, and political cycles in America are very short, guys. People have very short memories and short attention spans. But Senator Lindsey Graham has been one of the strongest supporters of Ukraine the last 3 years. He hates the Russians. Behind the scenes, he's trying to help. What about U.S. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz? I'll first play this clip, and you probably know where we're going from here.
We were here. We are moving closer and closer. Ambassador Steve Witkoff, Secretary of State Rubio have been leading the charge with all of us in support and coordination. But yesterday was a momentous step. It should have happened a month ago with this minerals deal. And Russia needs to come to the table. Both sides have to want peace. Both sides have to want to stop the fighting. And we think there is still a deal to be had.
Right. It looks like Ukraine gets the message, especially after the Vatican meeting.
They're not repeating Kremlin propaganda anymore about Zelensky being a dictator or Ukraine started this war. Their language in the last 3 days has really changed. And I actually do like Mike Waltz. If you remember, going back 4 months ago, everyone hated Jake Sullivan, Joe Biden's U.S. National Security Advisor. And based on previous statements, Mike Waltz supported Ukraine, opposed Russia, and I thought he would do a good job in this position, but he's been fired. Trump dismisses National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. He lasted 101 days in the job. And Mike Waltz, I think publicly they're going to say it's because he added that journalist from The Atlantic to that group text in which Secretary of State Defense Pete Hegseth was providing classified information. Pete Hegseth should be fired, but Pete Hegseth is a true believer, whereas Mike Waltz is an opportunist. In MAGA, in the Republican Party, there are two kinds of people. There are true believers. These people are idiots. They don't really know anything or believe anything aside from what Trump tells them to do. And then there's the opportunists. These are the career politicians, the people who are not nuts, and they know they need to go along to get along. And I think Donald Trump and his core advisors, they never really trusted or believed in Mike Waltz, and they were looking for an excuse to get rid of him, and they got one. But I guess he gets a consolation prize. Trump to nominate National Security Advisor Mike Waltz to be the UN ambassador. This is a very cushy job that Trump doesn't care about. Yeah, I guess Mike Waltz left Congress to take this position. So this is the runner-up prize he's going to be given. But I think he'll do a fine job as UN ambassador because it doesn't really matter. Let's cover some other headlines, and this is an important story that is kind of alarming. Ukraine stops fourth assassination attempt on volunteer Sternenko, who supplies drones for the front. Sternenko is a very famous YouTuber in Ukraine. Actually, he's probably famous all over the world. He's got 2 million subscribers, and you can see from his view count, he averages about 500,000 views a video. And he basically does what I do, except he broadcasts in Ukrainian and Russian. And he does a lot of fundraising for the Ukrainian military, especially drones. And for that reason, Russia tried to kill him. Russian spy rented an apartment to monitor Ukrainian drone supplier Sternenko for weeks before failing to assassinate him. The entire assassination attempt was caught on camera. I'll link this video down below if you want to watch it for yourself. This is the woman that the Russians hired to surveil him and then attempt to take him out. She was apprehended alive, and she's now in custody. And Sternenko was shot. He put out a statement. "I was attacked, injured. The attacker was detained. Thank you to the Security Service of Ukraine for the lightning-fast reaction. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be able to write anything anymore." None of his vital organs were hit. He is expected to recover. But yeah, guys, this is a YouTuber who fundraises for Ukraine, and the Russians tried to assassinate him. Again. This is something that I do have to think about for the rest of my life, and I am committed to seeing Russia defeated, because I think that might be the only way to guarantee my safety. Even if I stop talking about the war, even if I stop fundraising, I'm definitely on a list. If they're willing to kill this guy for fundraising millions for Ukraine's military, then why would I be any different? Now, I am much safer in the United States, and I do take precautions that I'm not going to explain to anybody. But we're in it to win it. We can't stop. Nobody can stop until Russia is defeated, because nobody will be safe until Putin is gone. 300 Ukrainian turncoats want to flee to Russia. Moscow doesn't want them. 300 Ukrainians convicted of collaborating with the Russians have asked to be exchanged for Ukrainian POWs held in Russia, but the Kremlin doesn't want them. These are people who, for example, that woman, have been arrested for collaborating with the Russians, and Ukraine offered to give them to Russia in exchange for Ukrainian POWs. And Russia doesn't care. Russia doesn't want them. Let's get to the best news of the video. The price of oil continues to fall. It's down again today. So with, most markets, it's kind of like a heartbeat. There's this up-down zigzag, usually trending up or trending down. And we just got another huge drop in response to the global economy slowing down. And the price of oil is now the lowest it's been basically since, February of 2021. ICE Brent crude is at $61. The price that Russia gets always trades at a discount. It's usually more than $10 less. So Russia is now getting below $50 a barrel. This is confirmed oil coming out of the Urals. Russia triples 2025 budget deficit forecast to 1.7% of GDP. Russia can't operate at a surplus with their war spending and their declining oil revenues. So this is Russia's finance minister lowering the 2025 oil and gas revenue forecast by 24%. Russia was hoping to get $133 billion this year, and they're now projecting 101. But something tells me they're going to have to revise this again as the global economy is slowing down. This trade war between China and the United States is going to be a disaster for a lot of people, but in general, a global economic slowdown, a global recession, demand for energy, demand for raw commodities will continue to decline, I think, for the rest of this year. And here's where the twist comes in. Oil price slump hits Saudi Arabia's economic growth. Saudi Arabia is, I think, the second or third largest producer of oil. The United States might be number one, and Russia's either 2 or 3. And Saudi Arabia isn't going to pump less. They're going to maintain their current output. That's what they're saying. Saudi Arabia is saying we can handle a prolonged period of low oil prices. The Saudis could pump less, causing the price to go up, but Russia's not going to pump less. Russia has been basically fudging the numbers with OPEC, lying about their own outputs. They're using shadow fleet tankers anyways, so no one's really tracking what they're doing. And if Saudi Arabia pumps less and the price goes up, They lose money, and Russia benefits the most. And I imagine after 3 years of this war, and there's no end in sight, the Saudis have to be wondering to themselves, why are we doing the Russians any favors? If we just maintain our output and allow for the price to remain depleted for a long period of time, Russia will lose the war. And if Russia loses the war, their own oil industry will be devastated. Their own exports and output will be reduced. The price will go back up. Saudi Arabia, 2 or 3 years from now, could be making premium on their own oil revenues. You can always turn on the Russian Saudis. Think about it. It's a good deal. I just think this is a funny story. North Korea and Russia begin construction of the first road bridge. And people forget this, but North Korea and Russia have a common border. There is a triple junction between China, North Korea, and Russia, located right here. This is a very weird border. And there is no road. There's no bridge between North Korea and Russia. There's only a single rail line. The reason why there's no road is because normally nobody gets in or out of North Korea. If there was a bridge and a road, North Koreans might be able to escape. But because there's this new military alliance and the North Koreans are directly participating in the Russian military, they're going to finally build a bridge. In 2025, they're going to build a road. Cool. This is bad news for Russia. McDonald's and CocaCola rule out returning to Russia. Given Trump's friendly rhetoric towards Russia the last 3 months, there was speculation what American companies might try to return to Russia. And especially after the last week, why would you do this? If you were a Fortune 500 company in America who left Russia, and you're now being invited back, and you see how temperamental Trump is with his mood swings, why would you invest money, resources, employees, whatever, trying to go back to Russia when Trump can switch his mind like that? So McDonald's and Coca-Cola officially said they're not going back. As long as Russia remains a dictatorship, it's not safe to operate there. So, good call. Final video I want to share with you is from St. Sophia Cathedral in Kyiv. This is the famous cathedral that, is in the background shot of many pictures. And the video specifically is of Orans of Kyiv. This is a depiction of the Virgin Mary in prayer. This is a video from Ilya Ponomarenko. And I just wanted to share a moment of Zen with you guys. Just turn off your brains and try and take it in. The Ukrainian identity has endured for 1,000 years, and it will continue to endure for another 1,000 years. Russia's not going to be able to wipe it out. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.